everybody. David Kennedy, Canopy Realtor Association and MLS president, here with just an ordinary realtor who happened to do extraordinary things. Hi.
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
So,
thanks.
Donna Anderson, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Donna, tell us how you got started in real estate.
It's not the typical way that a lot of people would. My husband and I were on a trip to Paris, and we were leaving the train station at Versailles, and there were several art students rushing to get to a class, and one of them dropped their art supplies, and he was right in front of me. So when he bent down to pick those up, the horde of people behind me kept pushing, so I fell over his back and dropped over a wall.
Oh.
And I broke all of the bones in my foot and ankle. So needless to say, our trip was cut short, flew back home, and I was told that I could not put any weight on that foot for about 4 months. So I decided, all right, what am I going to do with all this time on my hands? I'd always loved real estate, loved going to look at homes that were open houses. When I was a little girl, my mother and I would go do that, and I always loved it. So I decided that I would turn that love into a profession. So that's how I got started.
So you're in real estate. At what point do you begin to tell yourself, okay, I want to get into leadership, I want to serve? What kind of galvanized you, what drew you into serving at the association and all the capacities that you've done?
Well, actually, from the first day I got into real estate, I knew that was my niche. I loved it, and I was successful. And I saw what other people were doing within the association. And I thought, you know, if I can give back to this profession, that's what I want to do. So one of my peers suggested that I get involved in committees, and that's how I started. And the first committee I was ever on was at that time called Charitable Foundation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's gone through reiteration of names for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you are here in 1120 Pearl Parkway. You were president at 1201 Greenwood Cliff. Do you remember the building on East Moorhead?
I do.
Okay.
That's the building that we had when I first got into the business. Mm-hmm. And I remember when we had elections, you would go there to vote.
Huh.
And the candidates would wait around all day long to see what the results were. And they found out at the end of the day.
Could they be out in front of could they kind of convince you? Could they poll?
They could.
Yeah.
Okay. They could.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it was neat.
So I read, but you were there, so tell me, was it an even swap between Carolinas Medical Center and the Realtor Association with the Greenwood Cliff and Moorhead building? How did that come to pass? How did we get from one to the other?
We saw that we needed to grow. Our numbers were growing, and we realized that we needed a larger base, home base for ourselves. So the hospital had approached us because they knew that land was more valuable to them. Mm-hmm. So we did look around, and this was the closest to what we felt would be the best for us. Now, exactly how the swap came about, I'm not positive mm-hmm. to that.
So, but once we swap and we're in, we've obviously got room to grow. Somehow we started assembling land.
We did. We knew that as we grew, even the building we were in would not be large enough for us. And we wanted to look to the future. We wanted to have investments. After all, we're in real estate. So we went about purchasing small pockets of land that adjoined the building, and it one by one. And the last one that we obtained was that little yellow house that faced Kenilworth. because we tried for years to buy that property, but the owner just would not sell.
So how did he come around? Did he just did?
He passed away.
I didn't want to say it, but that's probably what I was
He
thinking.
passed away, and his heirs decided it was time to sell.
Nice. Nice. So what do you? I know this isn't the first time you're back in the building, but when you walk into the building for the first time, obviously you're focused on the building, but do you think about just the old buildings and the beginnings of it? How do you feel? Do you feel a part of it? We obviously feel like you're a part of it. But
I feel pride, and I feel gratitude, and I'm just so proud that the presidents of that day thought enough about our future to start purchasing land that could make this a reality one day, and to see it evolve from day one to today. It's wonderful, very exciting.
so you were on the board a couple of different times.
Right?
Did if I have my history right, if you go from your second term on the board, you eventually are secretary in 2006. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. All right. What was the big challenges in 06? Because it seems like your trajectory on the executive committee was 06 to 2010. Some very difficult, challenging years. So tell us about
Very difficult.
06 kind of coming on. What were things like?
Well, in '06, we were really order takers almost. The market was booming, homes were selling, and we kept thinking, how long can this last? I mean, everybody wanted to become a realtor because they thought it was fast money. They thought they could just sell homes and work whenever they wanted to and make some fast money. Then, as the years went on and the economy started to slow down, our numbers started to dwindle a little bit. And when we hit 2008 and 2009, it was really sad because we saw a lot of realtors who had been in the business for a long time and had given so much of themselves to the profession, but they couldn't sustain it. They just couldn't hold on. And it was tough to see that happen.
So when you were president in 09, there was a spirit of toughness you almost had to embody to almost galvanize those of us who were around,
Right.
to kind of rethink and retool how we did things. So what were some of the things that you used to try to inspire us as realtors to kind of keep the ball moving, keep going?
Well, what I wanted to do during that period was to keep the morale up. I wanted our speaker series at the time to be motivational, not only informative, but motivational. I wanted people to come in to talk to us about the difficult times and how to overcome that, ways that they could improve their business, find new business, reinvent themselves almost, and take classes in foreclosure, short sales, because that's what we were facing at that time. So recreate yourself and you'll come out on top. The code of ethics was very important during that time, and I wanted our membership to realize that we needed to adhere to the code of ethics, because some agents were letting their stomachs make decisions for the first time and not their brains. And we did have an increase in complaints. And that was a little disheartening, but I made sure that the code of ethics was out there. I made sure that when we had meetings, all of the board of directors had name tags on so that people could come up to us at meetings. They'd know who we were, and they could talk about situations, voice their opinions. And one of the toughest things for me was at night. I would receive phone calls at my home, and it would be a member asking if I could delay their dues for a month or two so that they could catch up on other bills, so that they could stay in their home. And I realized that I couldn't do that. I wanted to make everything better for everybody, but I realized that I couldn't do it for a few and not do it for everyone. And that if we started a policy where we deferred the dues, then that would hurt the entire association. And we just couldn't do that. So that was tough.
So the lessons, and so I was in leadership in '09, Leadership Academy, or the Leadership Development. What was your, and we were 10 years old, that was 10 years old, but you were back, you were involved prior to Leadership Academy, Leadership Development. Being ahead of that, what were some of the things that you recognized that maybe would necessitate leadership development here?
Well, for one thing, we were kind of recycling our members as far as being on the board. We were asking past board members to come back and serve again because we didn't have the leadership that we needed waiting in the wings. So it was the brainchild of Sandy Larsh, and we discussed it and said, we need to develop leaders. So David Barnhart, Judy Kendall, Sandy Larsh, and I were the original committee members of that committee. And it was great. I mean, we put in some long, tough hours, but to see that first graduating class and to see it now, it's wonderful. And we definitely, well, you're an example, David. Look at the quality of leadership that we have today.
So I think, I remember two folks from the class of '99 that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so obviously I worked with Joe Remsen. He was class of '99. And I served with John Kinbaum. He was class of '99. So they pay off, even though Kinbaum's 20 years later, he finally steps up and is on the exec.
Yeah.
But so the challenges, obviously in '09, there's some desperate times. When you see announcements in e-headlines during the pandemic that says we're going to defer your monthly dues, do you feel like that you kind of help us as leaders now understand how to handle things? Do you think those phone calls at night that you got during the Great Recession help prepare us as leaders today to be able to respond to realtors dealing with the pandemic?
I would like to think that I did, but I can't take credit for that. I'm glad that it happened because it's disheartening when your membership is hurting and you can feel their pain and you see it in their faces, and we don't want to lose the great membership that we have. Because just think of those potential leaders that might have had to get out of the business because things were tough and they couldn't make ends meet.
Of all the challenges that you had, what do you think was your greatest challenge, and then how did you deal with it? How did you overcome it, or just try to keep things together?
The greatest challenge I had was a personal challenge. It wasn't with the association that much. And it was the challenge not to take things personal because it was a tough time. And I had to make decisions that were tough. And a lot of people did not like those decisions. And I feel that I was president at the right time in my life. If it had been 10 years earlier, I don't know that I could have coped with the negativeness or, anything, not being able to do what I wanted to do. I think I would have taken it to heart too much. I still took it to heart, but I realized I had to do it for the good of the membership and the association.
I think some of the good things that were coming out at that time, even though it was a challenging time, where I think we rolled out Tempo, we started using Realists. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I still use Realists today.
Yes,
What was that like to kind of, in the midst of, I guess, some desperate times, to still say we've got to continue to roll out the tools that our folks need to continue? So what was Tempo like? How did that come about, and Realist and things like that?
Well, we knew that we needed to stay ahead of technology, and we felt that that was the best way to do it. When the systems rolled out, in a way, it took the agents' minds off of the financial issues and put it on a learning level, to where they hear something new, they had to learn it. And their complaints kind of diminished a little bit about the financial part, and they started about, why do we need to learn this? Why do we need this? What's wrong with the old system? And so in a way, it was a good diversion. It was necessary for us to move forward and to be competitive in this market. And it was also a diversion.
So let's talk about the foundation. In 2006, we were doing the home giveaway. So talk about that to an extent. And then in your presidential year, that is the first Realtors Care Day. So how did we get from home giveaway to Realtors Care Day?
Well, the home giveaway was so exciting. And I mean, to see these people, the deserving people that won the home giveaway, it was so exciting and so deserving.
And so they got a house.
They got a house. They got a house free of charge, and a mortgage company worked with them, and as far as taxes and things like that. But we realized that that was such a good thing for us to do as far as giving back. But we were only reaching one family at a time. And we needed to spread out. And we needed to reach our outlining regions as well. So it was the brainchild of Joe Remsen.
Good old Remsen.
I know, he's adorable. But it was his brainchild. And to see that come about, and the meetings that we had on it, it was very detailed, very detailed. And at times you thought, are we going to be able to pull this off? Are we going to get the membership to buy in to volunteering for this? We were just amazed and shocked at the outpouring of the membership and what they were willing to do and wanted to do to give back to the community and to help others. And the very first one we had, was when I was president. And I told everyone at the end of the day that that was the proudest moment of my career, to see the good that we did as a unit to help so many people.
So you were making the rounds that day. I remember being on Umstead Street, which is off of Central Avenue, and I was putting a roof on. And I remember I looked down and I thought I saw A-Rod, the baseball player, but it was Anthony Fox.
Yes.
So you show up with the mayor, and that was big. We get the mayor wanted to be a part of it. It's some pretty good publicity to see that.
It was. We had councilmen there. We had the mayor there. We had television coverage, radio coverage. It was so well received. And no one, no association had ever done anything like this in the past. We made regional news and national news. And we had other organizations, other associations nationally calling us, wanting to know what our format was and how we did it, because they wanted to start doing it as well.
So do you remember where you found the houses? How did you identify the houses?
Well, we reached out. It was a joint effort. We reached out to Fair and Affordable Housing. We reached out to, oh gosh, I can't think of the names of some of the places, David.
Reach out to the city?
We did reach out to the city. We reached out to the counties. We reached out to Fair and Affordable Housing. There were several places that we reached out to. And in fact, we had so many that we had to choose the ones that we could work with.
Wow. Your biggest achievement when you look back, it doesn't have to necessarily be a presidential year, but when you look back on your career, what are you proud of? What were you glad to be a part of? And can you name just one?
No, I can't. I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, there are too many just to mention one. I'm proud of the association. I'm proud of our membership. We have a staff here that is the best, bar none, in the nation. This staff is dedicated, and because of them, they help us look good. And so I'm proud of them. I'm proud of our memberships who had tough times, not just once, but twice, and came through and are here today to talk about it. I'm proud of the fact that I have made lifetime friendships with my peers and with the staff here, and not just here, but regionally and nationally. We travel so much when you are on the board of directors, and you really get to know people from other states, and you get to bounce off of them ideas that they have or that you have. You've made wonderful contacts for referrals and networking, and I'm so proud of that, the friendships. I'm proud that I was able to give the services that I gave to my clients.
So what is it, in your opinion, what does it mean to be a realtor, today versus back in 2006 through 10 when you were executive, or even back in the 90s when you were one of the realtors that we were recognizing, hey, we need to assemble land. I guess obviously there's some forward thinking, but what does it mean to be a realtor today versus back then? Has it changed? Is it evolving? And what are some of the things that we as realtors today need to be mindful of going forward?
It is evolving. It evolves daily. It's like I've always said, no 2 days in the real estate business are the same. No transaction is the same. You think you know it all, you think you've seen it all, and then all of a sudden, here's something new that you have not experienced before. So you have to be adaptable. You have to learn to grow. The association, well, the real estate business, I'll say, forms have changed, technologies have changed, the competition is unbelievable. We have to fight for the integrity of our commissions on a daily basis. We still have to prove our value added to every transaction. So those things haven't changed, and I don't see those changing. But the technology, the forms, things like that change. Our code of ethics do not change. That's what we live by. And it's been that way from the day I got in the business 34 years ago to today. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.